Hello folks, welcome to day 2 of the self-love sessions, which is a daily podcast / vlog that I'm going to be doing for you guys every day. Hold me to it. I need the accountability as much as you do. Every day it's going to be short, bite-sized self-love sessions talking about the subject of, you've guessed it because I've said it about 3 times, self-love. I'm really passionate about sharing these tools and techniques, teachings, daily habits that help you to come back to loving yourself from the core. Not superficial love, not a pretend loving yourself, not what Pinterest or Instagram tells you in a little quote. Loving yourself deep down inside there. Yeah, not here. It's not coming from here, it's coming from in here. Okay, so hopefully if you listen to these little self-love sessions, you will find an abundance of tools that I've used in my life that have helped me to come back to actually liking myself. Actually liking myself. Not liking myself like, oh, I'm the best. Liking myself like, yeah, I'm the bloody best, right? But because everybody's the best. And we're all the best inside of us, okay? So it's about coming back to that real deep sense of self-love within ourselves that is not influenced from the outside in, but it's a really deep, shining flame from the inside out. And I'm going to give you all of my best tools that I have learned over the years to help you come back to that space if it's something you struggle with. So if it's something that you struggle with, then you are absolutely not alone. I think so many people nowadays are struggling with a sense of self-acceptance because the world tends to tell us who we should be instead of allowing us to be who we really are. And therefore, as we move through life, through all of these different conditioning circles, education circles, social circles, culture, whatever, we gather more and more of these layers, all of which are good things, but we become attached to them, right? And we think they're the real truths, and we stop addressing or understanding or looking at who we really are, the truth of who we really are. And we get a bit confused as to who we really are because we're starting to play on all of these different identities. An identity from that group of friends, an identity at that workplace, an identity in front of that partner, or my family, or this, or that, or wherever you go, there's something different that you're having to portray. A little tiny mask, little tiny onion layer that's not quite you. It's a little bit them and a little bit them, and it's not quite you. And the more we move through life and gather all of these different masks, these different identities, the more we close off that little flame inside of us that is our true, authentic self, if that's the way to describe it, the truth of who we really are. And these tools are the most effective tools I've used throughout my life to be able to come back to that space. And there's a journey with some of these tools as well. So I've sort of tried to plan my podcasts so that it goes in the journey, okay? So if you are really at a point where you have a very, very low self-worth, a low self-esteem, and you simply don't feel good about yourself, then that's not a problem with you. And don't worry about it, okay? Because I have been there. I'm telling you right now, I have been there in a really terrible space, terrible body dysmorphia, which turned into really bad feelings about myself, not wanting to go out into the world because I thought people were laughing at me, not wanting to look in the mirror, or not being able to get out of the mirror because I was trying to check if I was a normal human, and shit like that, right? So it was traumatic. It was stressful, it created anxiety, it created depression. I didn't like myself, I didn't feel like I fitted into the world. And now as I've grown older and I've done all of this sort of like healing, I don't necessarily like that word, it's a little bit fashionable nowadays, isn't it? self-development and movement through understanding my own psyche, my psychological state, understanding my emotions, listening to my emotions, watching them, tuning in through practices like Kundalini Yoga, tuning into more cognitive therapy as well, and watching my thoughts daily, watching how I'm moving through life, watching how I'm responding to people, how I'm talking to people. All of these different things I've been doing throughout my life as little habits have eventually allowed me to come back to this space of, yay, oh, I like myself again. And that is a really good space to be, because you are unaffected by the crowd. There is absolutely nothing anybody can do, anybody can say to taint that pure and energetic, real fire within you, because you know yourself, you like yourself. And so anything that anybody says can't affect you. And you start to move through life with a much more open and inspired state of mind, which allows opportunity to come in. It allows you to release a little bit of fear about how you should be portraying yourself, and what might somebody think about me, and should I really be moving forward, and should I go for that job? It allows you to feel confident moving forward because you know yourself. Okay, so my blogs, vlogs, whatever you want to call them, little rants, are all about my journey towards self-acceptance and how I can give you some practical, cognitive, logical, physical, energetic and spiritual tools, because they're all one big thing in the end, to help you move forward also, if that's a place that you feel a little bit stuck. Okay, so I'm going to open this little podcast, which is called Forgiveness, with this little quote. If you make friends with yourself, you will never be alone. And this is a really, really, really powerful Pinterest quote. I'm joking. It's a really powerful set of words for me that I have actually experienced. I always felt alone. Even if I was with somebody. I felt alone throughout my life, like there was a void, a little empty, sparkless, dark place within me that I couldn't quite fill with any substance, food, drugs, alcohol, with any person. Hello, please come to me, I'm lonely. With anything on this planet, that void could not be filled, because the void wasn't something that I needed to gain from the outside and bring it to the inside. It was something I needed to find from the inside to be able to project it outwards. So if you make friends with yourself, you will never walk alone. And you have to feel that saying. It can't just be words like I say on a little square on Instagram. Make friends with yourself and you'll never walk alone. I mean, these words are just all like surfaced shit that it is not helpful. It has to be felt, it has to be understood, and you have to move through the processes. So when you connect back to that space within yourself, you're unbreakable. And I really want to teach this to people. So today I'm going to be talking about forgiveness, because this is really one of the first stages, one of the first steps that really, really helped me to move past, first of all, a feeling of guilt, bitterness, anger, and a real stagnation into the past, which is obviously no longer there, right? Because we're here, we're not there. So being there is a little bit of this feeling of tension, tightness, an inability to let things go. And this is never helpful for moving forward. Because it's like a big anchor tying you back, a big black anchor tying you back to something that has now passed. Right? So I'm going to say forgiveness is an absolute vital key recipe to move forward into self-acceptance. In fact, I think it's the first point of call that you need to do if you're feeling like you've got low self-worth. And I'm going to tell you the reason why, and I'm going to tell you a 4-step process that you can work with to help you move into forgiveness. Now, first of all, forgiveness. If I keep doing this, it's because it's my new podcast and I'm like trying to do something with my hands. I'll just have a glass of water instead. So forgiveness, you think about it as like this really Jesus-like thing to do, you know, forgive thy neighbour. I think that's a quote from the Bible. I'm not sure. I have read the Bible, but I can't remember. Forgive thy neighbour, do this, do that. But again, it's just Pinterest words, isn't it? It's Bible words, it's words. They're not experiences, they're just words that somebody once told you and passed down through Chinese whispers. And they're nice words, great pieces of advice. But do you really feel them? Like, can you really connect to those words? And is it just this wishy-washy feeling of like, I like to forgive everybody because I'm like Jesus and I'm like a guru and this is what I do, I'm a peace lover. But no. It has to be really practical. You have to really understand it. Why are we forgiving people? Why, when they've been a prat, am I forgiving this person? Why, when I've been a prat, that's such an old-fashioned word, in the past, am I forgiving myself because I don't deserve to be forgiven? And that's the whole reason why we need to work with forgiveness, first and foremost, if you want to start to love yourself. And this is the reason. So, first of all, people tend to say, you're not doing the forgiveness work for them, you're doing it for you. So you are not emotionally tied with the past and you can be free in the present and in the future from that idiot who did that bad thing. Yeah? That's not forgiveness. It's a really sort of angry, unforgiving and bitter way of not forgiving somebody. I'm going to say another quote. Here we go. I'm full of these Pinterest quotes, by the way, just to let you know. So this is where the contradictory part of my personality comes in. So if you can't see God in all, you can't see God at all. Same thing as if you don't want to use the word God, that's entirely up to you. If you can't see good in all, then you can't see good at all. Okay, this is where forgiveness comes in. So if you can't see good in that person who you are trying to forgive, then somewhere along the lines you can't see good in yourself, and you can't see good in that person, you can't see good in that person, you can't see good in that person, because we're all one interconnected ecosystem, right? We're all here trying to work together somewhere along the lines. And deep down, there's elements of people that are always good. Yeah, the heart is always good. Sometimes the mind gets a little bit fucked up, sure. But doesn't your mind get a little bit fucked up sometimes? Sure. But the heart, not really. The soul, not really. The mind, yes. And unfortunately, this is the past, by the way, this person has unfortunately not been able to befriend their mind enough to stop themselves from doing that terrible thing to you. Have you ever done anything like that? And that's where compassion comes in, actually understanding that person from the past and where they could have actually slipped up. And can you have compassion towards that person instead of being so bitter towards that person? Because we've all made mistakes. I've done things in my past that I am terribly ashamed of, and it ate away at me the whole of my life. And if I can't forgive that person that did something to me, then how can I also forgive myself that when I did something to somebody else? Then we just live in this big bubble of unforgiveness, and as if we can't see other people's points of view, when we all know for a chuffing fact that we've all done something that we think is unforgivable. But that's not the case, because everything is forgivable somewhere along the lines. And I know that people might be thinking, yeah, but this isn't, and that's not, and that's not. And that's not necessarily what I'm saying. What I'm saying is to be able to move through life without this guilt, bitterness and anger, which can be very reflective of what happens in your future. So you can carry on doing these habits of bad behaviour because you haven't been able to cut ties with what's happened in the past, and you haven't been able to forgive yourself, and you haven't been able to forgive somebody from the past, so you just keep bringing it into the future. If you can learn to understand that past with compassion towards the other person and compassion towards yourself, knowing that you are a fantastically good person because you are wanting to understand and be compassionate about those things, then that in itself is It's really empowering to allow you to move forward. Okay, so if you can't see God in all, you can't see God at all. So it's really important, these words with forgiveness, because forgiveness comes with being able to come from a space of compassion and from the heart space, instead of always thinking about the resentment, the anger, and the guilt that comes in the head. Yeah, forgiveness isn't a space of the ego and the mind. The ego and the mind, they perfectly have their own spaces and they're there for many different reasons, but forgiveness is a place from the heart. Okay, so this is why we have to keep coming back to this space. Okay, so forgiveness is the absolute first and foremost thing to do on your self-love journey. Now, I did this for 40 days. 40 days is a fantastic time. I need to stretch. Oof. 40 days is a fantastic time to do things for. I mean, I know I'm a Kundalini teacher and we do things for 40 days because it's a fantastic time to form a habit. So I did this for 40 days, but if you could just start doing it for a week, if this is something that you struggle with, you're going to find very, very powerful effects from it. It works, it's effective. Okay, so it's a 4-step process for forgiveness. This is forgiveness. This process, you can use forgiveness to forgive somebody else. Also forgiveness, self-forgiveness. So forgiving yourself for something that you feel that you might have done in the past and you want to move forward from, okay? Because that stuff wants to stay there. Okay, so 4-step process for forgiveness. Can you do this for a week? Number 1 in the process is identifying the baggage. So the baggage is, make a little list. Do this when you're feeling sort of like mentally sound enough to sort of like get into this little nitty-gritty work. Make a little list of resentments, hurts that somebody or some people or even yourself might have done in the past that you're still holding on to. Okay, make that list, get them down on paper. First of all, it wants to come out there and put it there, yeah, onto the paper. So a little list, identify what the baggage is, put it there and look at it from a distance. So it's not in here, it's there. Yeah. Number 2, visualize the source. Okay, so you've done the baggage, you've looked at it, it's there. Visualize the source of where this has come from, this resentment, this anger, this feeling of guilt. Yeah, even if it's your own forgiveness. And the way in which you can do this is you could just sit in a little meditation position or not, sit on the sofa, whatever, close your eyes down and imagine the person that you feel resentment towards. And this can be hard to start with, but things are hard, right? Moving into self-love can be challenging and we need to address stuff. So you're closing your eyes and you're imagining that person. And you're going to visualise, explaining to that person, or you can even say out loud, which I find even more effective, why you felt so hurt at that point, what it was that made you feel so hurt, and why you feel like you're holding on to this bitterness about what they did or what you did also. Okay, so say it out loud, verbalise it. Okay, let it be real. Don't let it eat you up inside. Let it be real. Face it. Face your fear. So identify the baggage, visualize the source. The next one is hear the explanation. So you're sitting here in meditation, you're hearing the explanation. Allow the person who did the wrongdoing to you, or even your past self, because that's not yourself now, your past self, explain, I did this because this, and this, and this, and this, and hear the explanation. And can you feel an element of compassion towards that situation? Yet let the feelings come out. Try come into here, into the heart. Let the feelings come out and feel this person explaining to you. Feel them explaining, whether it's you or somebody else. And then whilst you're still in that sort of closed eyes, still space, let it go. And this is a practice. So it's identify, write it down, visualize, sit there and visualize the person and explain to them why you feel so bad about what they did. And then the next one is hear the explanation. So listen to them, or you, past you, and then let it go. And this is a practice, okay? It doesn't come straight away, but you could feel a very instant release of the knowing that you are right here, right now, and you're not that person that you were back then, and you are right here, right now, and they might not be that person that were back then. Either or, even if they are, they still deserve that compassion, because how can anybody move into being a more compassionate and kind person if they are not shown compassion, if they are not shown love? And so when we come into this last stage of the forgiveness process, you are taking an inhale and an exhale, and you're letting it go, and you're just visualising, releasing any of this guilt, bitterness, anger from the past, and just allowing it to release. Now you can do that little 4-step process, which I've popped into the description of this video. You can do that. If you struggle with forgiveness, I really advise it, because it will bring you back to a really deep sense of self-worth quite quickly, specifically if you do it for 40 days. So try it out. Try and do it for 5 minutes a day. Yeah? You write that thing down, you do the 4-step process, and let me know how you find it after a week. Okay, even try it out today after this practice, and let me know in the comments how you find that 4-step process, because I really think you'll find it helpful, and I hope you do anyway. So there we have it today. Forgiveness podcast tuning out. Satnam, thank you for joining me, and I shall see you tomorrow, Facebook Live 6 o'clock, and also in the podcast section. So lots of love. Ciao.